guilty conscience is a small price to pay for the safety of the Alpha Quadrant. So I will learn to live with it. Because I can live with it.
If we're gonna do this, let's just do it. Fire on my mark.
No fracking way, Lee. Lee! Come on!
Mark.
Good day and welcome to Battlespace 9, Episode 2, in the Pale Moonlight, and 33. I'm Carl Danielson, and with me is our guests for the week. Who are our guests?
I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Chris.
Well, awesome. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
having us.
If you are listening to this, you probably know that I've appeared on their show, A Star to Steer Her By, like 7 times or something.
And you were brilliant.
And they have... oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, you are brilliant.
No, you.
And I have bad news, and I just want to bring it up. I cannot think of another title for this podcast except Battlespace 9.
I like it.
It's not bad
I'm so
news.
sorry.
I also
Okay.
love BS. It looks great as BS9. I was saying.
Oh,
Chris,
oh, good.
I like
Good.
that, and I also like it because like a 9 looks like a little G, so it kind of works. I like it.
I noticed that too. I like the maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'll do initials instead, or in addition to. But I was going to say, if you do think of better names in the process of this, like feel free to throw it out. Your podcast, of course, is called A Star to Steer Her By, which has been operational for 5 years.
God, that's crazy. So I think the original, actually, it might even still say it somewhere, but like the original kind of thing was just that it was like a fan, a lapsed fan, and 2 relatively recent fans watch all of Star Trek.
What it really is like a nerd so big that he wore literal Star Trek TOS uniform to his like 3rd grade pictures.
TNG.
Huh? What did I say?
TOS.
Oh, it wasn't TOS, it was TNG?
It's a TNG one.
Oh, well, whatever. See, this is it. This is exactly it. Chris, who is a really huge nerd, even though he may not be Star Trek's focused as Jake, Chris has like a lot of nerdy information about a lot of nerdy things. Like, I would say Star Wars, Doctor Who, and Star Trek, you kind of know a lot. There's Ames, who at the very least had seen Voyager and liked it, and then there was me, who I think prior to this had seen maybe 8 episodes of Star Trek all told.
But yes, we have thus far watched TOS, TAS, which was painful, TNG, DS9. We're now on the 3rd season of Voyager.
And we jokingly called it our 7-year mission in the beginning because we figured that's about how long it would take to cover every Star Trek that was in existence at the time. But since then, we've gotten 3 more seasons of Discovery, and 2 seasons of Picard, and Lower Decks, and Prodigy, and soon to be Strange New Worlds, or recently Strange New Worlds, depending on when this podcast goes up. So we will never run out of Star Trek.
It's an infinity-year mission.
Exactly.
It's scary.
I didn't realize that you would have to do Lower Decks. That disturbs me.
Yeah, me too.
The animated series was tough. I've seen an ep and a half of Lower Decks, and I feel like that qualifies me to comment on all of Lower Decks for whatever reason.
You're probably
right. Just because, and like every time I see a scene, it's like, haha, I remember Lower Decks back when it was on the Cartoon Network in 2002. And oh wait, that's a modern show. I forgot. Like it feels very 20 years old to me.
Yeah, I've seen like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and it was fine. I mean, I'll see it eventually because I have to.
It's a laugh.
All I've seen is that picture of one of them like taking a picture of his asshole or something. That's basically all I've seen of Lower Decks, and I also feel like that's
Actually, I will
That's
say
all
I
I really
recently
need to see.
saw a photo of the 4 main voice actors at a convention. And
they actually gave them
they gave them
uniforms,
the uniforms,
right?
and the uniforms do work pretty well in live
Didn't
action.
they do that to the Prodigy cast too, or
Interesting.
something?
No, they built the bridge chair.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Prodigy's good though. Have you seen that
Yeah.
yet, Carl?
I haven't, but I can.
Carl,
I bet
Prodigy's
it's good.
great. It's
I
really
bet
good.
it's good.
Check out Prodigy.
Yeah, it's and I say this as someone who is not like against new Trek like so many people are,
Mhm.
but even with what little there has been, Prodigy might. We'll see how it keeps going, but it might actually be the best of the new shows.
Interesting. Because it is a children's show. Like, you wouldn't expect it to hold up to the adult drama. But
It tells some pretty interesting stories. It does it pretty well,
Oh.
you know, and it's like at the end of the day, there was a lot of those like, no, what was the lesson today, kids? But not
Yeah,
quite.
but
so,
Janeway is telling it,
Yeah, and
so you
Janeway's
feel like,
there.
fuck yeah, Janeway would be proud of what I've learned today.
Yeah, it's shockingly
It's true.
well done.
true.
The dialogue isn't too like self-consciously hip or anything. The
Oh,
animation
that's good.
It looks
fucking
beautiful. Plus, the
great.
characters are just really interesting. Like,
yeah, the
they're
character
super
design-
interesting characters. We've got a Medusan
Yeah,
who's super cool because you've only ever seen like one other Medusan,
And it was in a
they
box
didn't
the whole
talk or
time.
anything. So this is really neat.
this one has a little suit that lets it get around.
There's a Tellarite who
He's a
refers
little
to
annoying.
himself in the third person constantly,
Mhm.
which makes me want to kick him out an airlock. But aside from that, he's okay.
Mhm.
Pretty competent.
Mhm.
There's Rock, who's just a big rock. And she's so sweet. She sounds like she's voiced by a 5-year-old. And she's... I just love her.
Yeah.
And then, I don't
Murph.
remember the other characters. There's Girl Face and Boy Face.
Yeah, admittedly,
Doll?
I
Tall?
Doll, I think.
Doll.
I'm bad with names
Quinn?
sometimes.
The
But
other one called Quinn?
yes, there it is, Doll and Quinn.
There you
I
go.
think it's Doll.
I think so.
But honestly, like the best description I saw of it was someone online saying that it's a cartoon that starts off in Star Wars until they find a Federation ship to escape to Star Trek,
Oh, neat.
and
It
that
does
makes a
feel
lot
that
of
way,
sense
too.
when you see it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's super good.
Cool.
You should definitely check it out, Carl.
Well, you know,
And then you should come on our podcast in 8 years when we talk about it.
pencil me in. Well, you know what this reminds me of. I was down on this for like being a children's show, but when I saw Next Generation season 1, I was basically judging it as a children's show because I was 7, and it was literally. I think I've said this before, but like it was on literally after like the Tiger Sharks and the Karate Cat and the Snorks and like.
Oh, the
And then
Snorks.
yeah, all fine shows, but around 12 o'clock rolls around in Moorhead, Minnesota, and it's time to sort of put away childish things and watch season 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is an extremely
like-
childish show by adult standards.
Yeah, that was the one thing is like people say to you like, oh man, the first season of TNG is not very good. No, they don't warn you. The first season of TNG is borderline unwatchable.
I don't think it's unwatchable.
I said borderline.
But I think there are low lows that like the show never lows to ever again. At least not.
Yeah, no, like
Yeah,
like
agreed.
honestly, some of the only worst TNG I've seen than TNG. Some of the only Star Trek worse than season 1 TNG, you got to go to TAS.
Oh yeah, which like shouldn't even count really.
Yeah.
So well, in
So
that case,
bad.
then the worst of Star Trek is in TNG,
Yeah.
season 1. And honestly,
I
season
feel-
2 is actually not that much of an improvement.
And people who
despite
say
what
that
people
the first season of TNG is bad are the same people who are like, oh, Deep Space Nine season 1 is a little rough or whatever, and it's like, or they say it about Voyager,
Mhm.
and you're
They
like,
say it about all of them.
comparatively, it's all lies. If you were just basing it on how fucking not great TNG is in season 1, you don't need to preface anything else ever again. Just
But-
say, hey,
Yeah.
the first season of TNG is rough, and let
Yeah.
everybody else draw their own conclusions, because everything
Yeah.
else is fine.
But speaking
That's
of
right.
DS9,
Yeah, let's talk about DS9.
I love that show.
It's
I just
so
started
good.
a rewatch, actually.
Oh, you did? Oh,
As
that's
soon
fun.
as we finished it, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah. Deep Space Nine is a great show to watch if you're unemployed. I'm currently unemployed and watching Deep Space Nine as well. Although not in order. I'm just sort of grabbing them
Just
as
jumping
like
around.
chips.
that makes sense.
Well, that'll be helpful for this show.
Definitely.
I would think.
Definitely. The theme of this week's episode is Exigencies of War. And the episode we're talking about is In the Pale Moonlight, written by Ronald D. Moore, uncredited, and directed by Victor Lobel. So, Chris, why don't you start us off?
Sure. The way you paused there, I was afraid you were waiting for me to say who directed. I was like, I have no fucking clue.
I just realized I forgot.
Did I miss that?
Well, that's all right, Carl. The magic of editing, you're going to make it sound so snappy.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
Unless
Or
you leave in what I just said.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's up to
leave
you
this
what
whole
you're
thing
looking
in.
for, totally. Anyway, yes, In the Pale Moonlight, named after a line from Batman 1989, which shocked me, because I had assumed when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, so that line in Batman must have been from something else, because why would they name it after a line from Batman? That's weird. But no, they did. And
I think just to piss off Ames.
possibly.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. But also it's a great episode. It's classic, heavily memed. It is the source of "it's a fake."
I rewatched that clip like
over
8
and over.
times.
I see that. So, but how do we get to a fake?
Well, you got to have an isolinear rod that is not a fake.
True. So yes, we are in season 6, the thick of the Dominion War arc in DS9, and things are going very poorly for the allied forces of the Federation and Klingon Empire. Sisko has taken to posting weekly casualty lists. For some reason, he ruins everyone's weekend by posting it on Fridays. Like, dude, I know you get it for then, but maybe post it Monday? Like, everyone's already in a bad
nobody
mood.
would come to work. Just, you gotta mix it up every week.
There we go. So
But definitely not Wednesday. Or Friday, rather. Fuck that. Not Friday.
Talk comes up with the fact that lately the Dominion has been kind of violating, for lack of a term, the Romulan border so it can easily sneak up on Federation fleets and such. And they're like, well, come on, why are the Romulans putting up with this? Like, well, they got a non-aggression pact, and as far as the Romulans are concerned, like, you know, if the Dominion wants to kind of skirt into their space a little bit just to give a bloody nose to the Federation, hey, great, we hate those guys. They decide maybe it's time to get the Romulans into the war. And
Sisko and Dax do a great role play.
they do. Just making the frankly sensible argument that the minute this is over, the Dominion is going to turn on you and there's going to be no one to help you. They decide maybe they need to find proof of the fact that this inevitability will occur. So, Sisko thinks, well, there's one person who might be able to find this for me, and he goes to simple tailor Garrick, who's all like, yeah, if I call in, like, literally all my favors, I might be able to get this for you. So Garrick calls in literally all his favors, and literally all his favors are dead within a day.
Yeah. Murdered.
So Garrick's like, all right, well, that went poorly. Here's an idea. What I can do is get my hands on some proprietary Cardassian recording technology. What was it?
Is it an isolinear rod?
I thought
Yes.
isolinear was the Federation. Oh, it is? Okay. So an isolinear rod, it is it is write only. It's, like this super secure,
It's
hard...
not an isolinear rewrite. It's rewritable. It's
Yes.
one time only.
Yep, it's hard to get your hands on. They are only produced as needed for, like, top-level Cardassian meetings.
On Cardassia Prime.
Yep, and Garrick's like, look, I can get my hands on one of those. I can get my hands on the world's greatest hollow forger, and he'll make a fake meeting. So they do that. They get the hollow forger. They get the rod. But the price for the rod is a big old pile of biogenic gel, which is like a super controlled substance that can be used for all sorts of nasty things. Bashir is very upset about having to hand it over because it's, again, like, he wants to know why and can't be told, and there's all this stuff about security that comes up frequently, like when the Hollow Forger tries to kill Quark in a drunken rage, and Sisko has to, like, he's talking to Odo, like, so, he's doing work for me that I can't get into? And Odo's like, look, I'm a big old fascist, so I understand, but I'm also really into procedure, so if Quark wants to press charges... So Sisko has to bribe the hell out of Quark. So they get the forgery made, the Senator drops by, They look at the forgery. He's like, I want to examine the rod. Sisko's like, well, of course. He examines the rod. It's a fake! And then on his way home
Your delivery. It's a fake.
Right. That
it's more of like a stupid whisper yell.
Yes,
it's so stupid. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's amazing. But
it's a fake.
It turns out on his way home, Renak's ship mysteriously explodes. And the only people that had access to Renak's ship were Renak's people, Sisko, and, oh dear, plain simple Garrick.
Elim, plain simple Taylor Garrick.
Yeah. So when he finds out this has happened, Sisko storms into Garrick's simple plain tailor shop, and simple plain punches him in the face.
Oh, actually, first he slaps him.
Oh, is that what he does?
He backhands
that's
almost fucking throws the wig off his head.
Yeah.
I rewatched that scene a couple times as well, because I was like, holy shit.
And yeah,
Then he punches him.
Yeah, and Garrick's basically like, yeah, this has essentially been my plan, more or less, most of the whole time. Any sort of flaws in the rod will be seen as being the explosion.
Damage, yeah, from the crash. And then Garrick's all, but you knew. You asked me to do this because you knew I could do what you couldn't.
Yeah.
Ben Sisko has to think about how he feels about that.
Yeah, and all it took was some operatives and
a dead senator and
the self-respect of a Starfleet officer. And it works. The Romulans are in the war. And this whole thing has been framed as Sisko alone in his quarters drinking, recording a personal log, and it ends on a great monologue from him about how he'd do it all again, and he can live with it, but there's definitely some doubt in his voice. And it's one of those really just great Star Trek moments.
So good. I know you're just starting out your podcast, but I just want to, as a note, don't summarize episodes the way we summarize episodes. We always wind up taking about 3 hours to do it. Usually a person could watch the episode at least twice through by the time we get all our points across. And that's not... I am the worst offender of all, because I usually don't remember half of what I'm talking about, so don't, Chris, take that personally, but...
Boy, these are good questions. I have to figure things out. First up, in the name of Kalis, I challenge you to an "It's a Fake" off.
No.
Which one of us can get the best nuance and perspicacity from that particular line?
I mean, Caitlin has already proven hers far superior to mine, so really, you're the only one that hasn't done it yet.
Okay, I'll... Ready.
Hit us with your best shot. Carl.
It's a fake! Thank you.
Nice.
I'll have to recover from that.
Oh, Jesus.
What do you think was going through that actor's mind, that director's mind? Were they legitimately saying, all right, this is going to be a series best episode, one of the most serious and nervy dramatic constructs of the entire series. We want you to be the pigeon poop on that statue. We want you to be made fun of for 25 straight years. Ready? Okay.
Oh, God.
It's a fake.
I like to think that was the best take they could get as well. That was actually
Yes.
the 40th try.
Well, it's the best take.
It's a fake!
It's the one that, in the editing room they decided to go with.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just picturing, I really want someone who can do a really good Kelsey Grammer impression to dub the rake scene from The Simpsons with It's a Rake when he gets hit every time instead of going...
Carl, you have this Darth Sidious quality to both of these things that you've done. So first you kind of did it with It's a Fake, and now you kind of did it with It's the Rake. And
Well, that's these are very sinister characters.
True.
I have to convey my sinisterness.
Oh, you're nailing it.
Sidious's plots are about as convoluted as Romulan ones.
That's true.
So it makes sense.
That's true.
enter that gif where he's just going and like moves his hands around. You know the one I mean, where he just kind of like, this is really good audio.
It is great.
Just flap my hands. But if you think about that fucking, you know
it's the one where he's laughing over Yoda.
He's laughing and flapping his hands around like a fucking asshole. And you're like, speaking of directorial choices.
Oh god, yeah, that's probably it. They just brought in George Lucas to do that one scene.
Oh my!
That explains everything. Breedak is arguably the most influential Romulan we have seen in all of Star Trek. But boy, he doesn't look like it to me. Like, do you know what I mean? He feels more like a temp than a senator. I don't know.
Well, and also I'm just like looking at his stills. Someone did a real fucking hack job on his wig. It is really bad. It is like unconscionably bad.
Yeah.
Like, it is. If this man is a senator, whoever does his hair really does not agree with his politics. It's just choppy as fuck.
I mean, the thing is, on Romulus, that is like the closest to a protest you can do, is give a guy a bad haircut.
Bad haircut.
Because otherwise they will just
Resistance
throw you
movement.
into... Yeah.
Well, and whoever did his hair is actually a hero.
I will say the scene where, him and Sisko are first talking, though, he definitely does bring the, like, just huge arrogance that Garrick said he would bring.
Insufferable. Acerbic, he said, and he was right. He nailed it.
That certainly gives him this sensation of like, you're an important prick and you know it, and God, that makes you the worst.
But it kind of feels like he only feels that way because he like thinks he's on the winning side, and like because ultimately, like, even if they're only pointing it out to the Romulans for the wrong reasons, the Dominion is absolutely going to turn around and slap the Romulans. Like, the Romulans have stand no chance. If the Klingons stand no chance, the Romulans stand less than no chance.
The Romulans have the same problem as Dukat, where they think they can play the Dominion. And it's like, no one can do you that. Stupid bastards.
I was going to say, if you want a good Romulan senator, I'm thinking the Defector, like that guy. Do you remember him?
Yeah,
that was
that's a great episode.
There is someone who embodies the entire idea of Romulan nobility. Like, you believe that person could swing an entire Senate. Maybe they made the choice of making him kind of a shrimp.
That sort of begs the question of, does that sort of partially undercut things at all? Like, because at the end of the day, you're just like, I don't mind that this guy was blown up because he was a dick, but I mean, it still doesn't actually change the morality of it, really. Like, it affects, like, in a way, would we be a bit more like, if maybe he'd been a more reasonable, decent fellow who just got angry, rightly, because he was presented a forgery, as opposed to a guy who, like, from the minute you see him, you kind of want him to be airlocked.
Yeah. You want to give him the Finney treatment?
That's a really good question, because one of the things that I think people disagree on whether it's a good choice in this episode is this plan is approved fully and sanctioned by Starfleet Command. Like, there should be no moral ambiguity here, and yet there is.
So the thing is, I think if you watch enough Star Trek, what has happened over the years, perhaps accidentally, is that Starfleet Command is one of the most amoral, corrupt, possibly borderline evil organizations in the Alpha Quadrant. Just because there have been so many stories with corrupt admirals and, big schemes and this and that. They've all added up so much that after a while, like, is there anyone at the Admiralty who isn't a villain?
No.
Right.
So, like, whereas oftentimes the, like, main casts we see on the ships, or in this case on the station, or whatever, they tend to embody these, or try to embody Starfleet and Federation ideals. You feel like the folks at HQ are actually way more pragmatic. Like, I think that, if Sisko told the whole plan to, like, his crew, a lot of them would be horrified.
Not Odo.
Yeah, not Odo. I should say the Starfleet folks. I think to a certain extent, Kira also would be like, yeah, sure.
Uh-huh.
Well, she was also a terrorist.
Yeah.
Or a freedom fighter, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Same
Kira,
thing.
interestingly, Kira is not in this episode at all.
Oh God, you're right.
But it sort of makes sense because like all she would say is like, "Do it, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm into it."
Yeah, so, sounds good. Fuck the Romulans.
Yeah, I fucking hate Romulans. Yeah, fuck them.
Jerks.
They're working with the Cardassians. They're collaborators now. Fuck them. Yeah.
Interestingly, they
It's very
almost
black and white from Ms. Kira.
they were almost the people she was going to be trying to kill. Oh, I don't remember the episode, but yeah, the episode that introduced the idea of the Bajorans and the fact that they'd been like conquered by another people. The original script had it being that the Romulans had conquered Bajor. But then somebody, I don't know who, I can't remember, this is all in Memory Alpha,
A hero,
Star
whoever
Trek
they are.
Wiki, was like, we've been using them a lot lately. What about the Cardassians?
Oh, interesting.
So,
Because at some point that "we're back" turns to "ugh, they're back, Jesus Christ again."
yeah, DS9 could have looked very different if someone hadn't said, what about the Cardassians instead?
I'm glad whoever did that is a fucking hero.
Well, the Cardassians are great.
There.
I mean, it's hard to imagine a Romulan Garrick, I think.
Yeah, it is.
He's too competent.
Yes.
Yeah, the thing we always say is, like, Cardassians are what Romulans think they are.
Yes.
Like, they're very scheming, they're very, like, closed off, secret police state kind of thing, but Romulan schemes are just always so convoluted. The Romulans are a group of people who were like, we're gonna steal Captain Picard's DNA and clone him and, yeah.
Profit.
Were you at all? Did you watch New Girl, the Zooey Deschanel show, when it was on?
No.
They had
No,
a
I've
running
heard it's
gag.
good,
I liked it. They had a running gag with her roommate Winston, and the joke is that Winston is bad at pranks. He loves them, but he's bad at them. And the thing that makes him bad is he has no sweet spot. His prank is either too light. For example, like he drops a grape into his roommate's cereal and thinks that's a prank.
Okay.
Good one, buddy.
Or his prank is too over the line, too severe. For example, he pranks a friend by registering him as a sex offender.
Oh my god!
Christ, Winston.
Oh no! Holy shit! Jesus Christ!
And that is what Romulans are with their plans, because either they're too light, they sneak around going, ha 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 ha, we're back. Or they're too heavy, they steal Geordie LaForge, replace him, torture him, make him an assassin, wipe his memory, and almost destroy, and whatever. I forget what they're trying to do. Who cares?
Oh, I forgot that
they killed
episode,
some
but
motherfuckers.
yeah.
So this
they-
is the thing. You can't. You're right. They're incompetent, but you can't turn your back on them because every so often they'll get it, and then you're in the shit. And like, there's the episode where like Riker is he's sent to the future, but really it's simulation.
Well, except that one isn't even the Romulans. That's someone else pretending it's the Romulans.
Oh,
Holy shit! That's like Romulan Inception.
My
God. I knew you were gonna do that as soon as I said it.
Nice. What's your opinion of Avery Brooks as an actor?
I love Avery Brooks. People give him so much shit, and Ben Sisko is my favorite. Like, my favorite captain so far. Like, 110%. I love him. And maybe I'm biased, and maybe it's because I've done a shitload of theater that I appreciate the theatricality of it.
Yes.
But I love him so much.
Yes.
I will say that the having him stare directly into the camera a lot in this was not a directorial choice that I liked, but I don't know that I think that was his fault.
I am a long-time advocate on your show of having Avery Brooks play Hamlet in the park, like outdoors. On some level, we are kind of being cheated because we can't see this man from like a 20-foot range. Do you know what I mean? Like, he could hold... But one of the things that is great about his performance in this is it's kind of modulated, and you don't really think of him as modulated, but most of the time he's slouching. Most of the time he's... And he's not a natural sloucher. That man has perfect everything. But he's slouching, he's unbuttoning his cool... off-duty uniform and drinking mild scotch. He's not mad at himself. He's disappointed with himself, and I think you can feel that.
Oh, damn it, Dad!
Yeah. And it all works so well in this.
Like this is one of those like his log sequences in this like definitely stand up there as some of the best just Trek acting moments.
Yeah.
I feel like even maybe if people aren't into him most of the time, I feel like they should be able to appreciate this one.
Yeah.
Again, personally, I'm always into him. He's great. I think, in many ways, he's almost the Romulans of acting, is that he's either very subtle or he's huge. There's not a ton of in the middle, and I am 1,000% here for that.
Can I share something that it was occurring to me as I was watching this? It doesn't really have
Please.
to do with the episode, but more... So, we've seen, we watched the, what was it, the After Years? What the fuck was it called? What We Left Behind?
Oh,
Yes.
documentary, right.
Yeah, and so he didn't show up for it, but Jake Sisko,
Shrock.
yeah, he showed up for it, and what I was noticing in this episode was how much of, I think, Sherlock Lofton's acting comes from growing up with Avery Brooks, working with
that's
Avery
cool.
Brooks. Because there was some deliveries where I was like, holy fuck, I've heard Jake say those exactly like that, which I don't know how real that is or isn't, but as I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, I would expect Jake to deliver a line like that. Oh, I would expect Jake to deliver that line like that. That's so weird.
I mean, considering how young he was when the show
Oh
started.
my god, he's a little baby.
And, the fact that most of his scenes were with Avery Brooks. It would make sense.
It would.
But-
Anyway,
rubbed
so
off.
I had that appreciation as I was rewatching this episode today.
And I know that they also spent a
yesterday,
lot of
whatever it
time together off camera, too, so...
Yeah, he looked out for
Buddies.
Sherlock Lofton, I think.
Which I
And-
love.
Mm-hmm. And
love.
exactly. And I don't think Lofton has done too much acting work outside of Deep Space Nine. Has he?
I'm not
Uh,
sure.
Oh,
I
I
don't know
guess-
if he's done, a lot of
Internet,
theater or
okay.
anything, or
I guess I haven't checked, but it is such a rewarding thing to me when you watch actors develop over the course of years.
Yeah.
You know that they learned how to do that because of this relationship.
Yeah.
And it's so it makes it feel so lived in, you know. I guess
That's
we should make sure the audience knows that we are all theater people.
Yeah.
We were producers, we're actors. I'm a playwright. Chris, you're a playwright, an actor.
Yep. Mostly actor.
Caitlin, stage manager. You're writer too as well, right?
Not like you guys.
No.
I would
And you've
say.
acted.
And producer.
Yeah, producer and sometimes, very sometimes acting, but not very frequently.
So we all have strong opinions about what's good about stuff.
Dude,
Yeah.
Sherlock Lofton was in Beethoven
Oh, wow.
as skateboarder number 2.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, skateboarder number 1.
It occurs to me, though, talking about this, Jake isn't in this episode either.
yes. He would be ashamed, I think.
Well,
Sisko would be
I think... Sisko obviously couldn't tell him any of this.
Yeah.
But, if there was any time during this period that he was in the same room as Jake, it was just... That was probably when he felt his worst.
Yeah.
Just, looking at his... But then again, on the other hand, he might be looking at him going, this is to protect him.
Absolutely.
So...
Absolutely. He would definitely be the kind of guy who's I'm going to take this crap so my son does not have to.
Yeah, but knowing full well that if my son ever knew I did this, he would possibly never speak to me again.
Yeah. I want to talk about one last thing, and I think you mentioned this a bit in your show as well. When is Garrick lying in this episode?
Always.
Always?
Because we could already, when his mouth
until
is
the
open.
end. I guess when he's talking at the end, he's probably telling him.
Yeah.
I think with Garrick, what basically happened was he did legitimately see if, he called his contacts to see what he could get. Then they all died, and then he came up with the plan. And from that point up until, like you said, Caitlin, he shows up, Sisko shows up at the end, and Garrick tells him what's happening. At that point, he's telling the truth. But everything in the middle, total lies. Like when he said, if on the off chance he thought the rod was genuine, hey, great. But I was in no way expecting it. I was ready to explode him.
That is a great line, too.
Yeah.
That's Garak mindset to a T. I'm going to suggest he's even more dishonest than that. I think, because he mentions he contacted his operative friends. One day later, they're all dead. Something doesn't quite sit right with that with me.
I was actually just wondering if that was bullshit too.
Because Sisko is the one who brings up that part of the plan. He's like, I have to believe that a man like you knows some informants situation. And
and he's like, yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
And I submit that behind that pleasant, simple tailor visage, he's going, I can exploit this human. I submit that he simply tells Cisco that they're all dead. And, we don't know, but I kind of make these decisions on, like, what it would be cool for the character to do. And one thing I like about that is a few minutes later, he is talking Cisco through this plan about the rod, and he's like, you will assure Vreenak that 10 good men died to give you this information, that sort of thing. And it's like he is telling Cisco to lie in exactly the same way that I think Garak just lied to Cisco a few minutes ago. And I like
that's
that.
a good point. Yeah.
And Topper, listen to his monologue. Who's dead? What are the costs of this operation? A criminal, a Romulan senator, and the self-respect of a Starfleet officer.
That's true.
And also my buds. My buds are dead. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
No, I think he forgot for a second that he lied.
That's interesting. When I was gonna get ready to say I don't know, but now you've got me wondering.
I think this brings us to the other person we have to praise in this, which is obviously Andrew Robinson. Like, nobody can... This only is interesting if you have someone like him doing what he does.
Yeah, no, he is... I mean, he's always good, but this might be, like, one of his best, because he's firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm. He's in his element. He's in his element, and literally no one else is. That's what's beautiful about this app.
Yeah. Yeah, because that is the thing. If there is one thing we know, is that no matter how kind or evil, or where on the scale Starfleet Command falls of decent or bad, they are atrocious at intelligence. Starfleet intelligence are the worst spies in space, as evidenced by the fact that it seems like every time you turn around, they're sending people trained as regular personnel to handle missions for them instead of having their own fucking operatives. Now, obviously, this is a function of, this show is about these people.
Yeah.
And we want to tell a spy story, so we have to find a reason for them to be in it.
Yeah.
But
you're right, though. Like, let's make O'Brien do it.
Yeah.
He's an engineer. He'll go really good at private investigation.
Right.
Transferable skills.
So there's, like, the real-world reason you did it, but then if you look at it from an in-universe perspective, it tells this unfortunate story. So yeah, like, Cisco's never met a real spy in his life until Garak, so...
That's right.
That's why he was so easily taken in.
Alright, so at this point, I assume I'll, like, put in some sound effect and to signify moving to the...
Well,
will it be Vreenak saying, it's a fake?
No, we'll do here. We'll do our BSG theme duet again.
No.
Okay.
Use that.
Okay. Well, you guys go ahead. I don't
I've overdone it.
And then cut to the drum part. Maybe that's maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll like because it used to irritate some people that like the opening credits of the show will see stuff that you have not seen yet. But maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll drop in clips of us like saying stuff we haven't said yet.
There we go. Over some
just to irritate people in a more good way, more appropriate way. Thank you.
That would be really funny.
So I will say at first when I said I would summarize 33, I didn't kind of realize what I was getting into. Once again, you all are really good at this. All right, Battlestar Galactica 33, written by Ronald D. Moore, directed by Michael Reimer. 33 is the number of minutes it takes for the Cylons to find and catch up to the colonial fleet. For 5 days, humans have been on the run. 236 times, the fleet has dropped to a new location to escape the Cylons. That means sending out Viper pilots from Battlestar Galactica to engage the Cylon raiders, as all the 200 or however many ships in the civilian fleet get their stuff together and jump. In addition to all of that, the civilian fleet is still in first responder mode, kind of from the tragedy of the 12 colonies. Commander Adama and Colonel Tai are watching things from the CIC at the Battlestar Galactica. They think they might be lucky this time. They're going to shake the Cylons. They're not lucky. The Cylons arrive, and the exhausted fleet limps its way through jump 327. Adama asks Tai whether or not it's his turn to take his 10 minutes of sleeper ties, and Tai assures Adama, it's your turn. As Adama leaves, Communication Officer D reminds Tai that it was his turn, and Tai replies, the old man's so tired he can't remember whose turn it is. Let him sleep. The Cylons return. The fleet staggers its way through jump 238. On the other side of it, Adama asks for a status report. Dee starts to report that all is well, catches herself, and then realizes bad news. A civilian ship called the Olympic Character was left behind. Why? She doesn't know. Maybe the Cylons got him before they left. Or any other things that we don't know, explodes Colonel Tai. Yes, we're tired. Yes, we suck. But yes, we are still expected to do our jobs.
God, I hate him.
The next 33 minutes pass, and no sign of the Cylons. What could this mean? Part 2. Colonial One, the official aircraft of President Laura Roslin, the former Secretary of Education who Kiefer Sutherlanded her way into the job after everyone else in front of her was killed. With the help of Billy, her personal assistant, who I believe is going to be her chief of staff soon, Roslin manages this humanitarian crisis that has fallen on her lap. A few feet away is Gaius Baltar, scientific genius, and, unbeknownst to everyone else, the dumbass who let the Cylons into the defense mainframe so that they could massacre the 12 colonies.
And who is like always getting his dick spanked, like when all this shit's going on. Like, he's just having mental mindfuck, like, all over the place, but, like, literally.
This was the hardest part for me to actually write, so please let me know what I might be missing.
It was his hardest part, too, eh?
He is...
Gross.
He seems to have been caught by a honeypot operation.
Yep.
Run by the ridiculously sexy Cylon agent number 6, played by Tricia Helfer. Fun fact, he keeps seeing number 6 around him. She talks to him, flirts with him, warns him, and asks him philosophical questions, but no one else can see her. Fun fact 2, sometimes the two of them interact in a recreation of what seems to be Baltar's palatial swinger bachelor pad from Caprica, where they continue asking philosophical questions and fuck. It's a strange life for Gaius Baltar. But luckily for him, because he comes off as just an eccentric, whenever he says something suspicious, everyone just assumes he's talking to himself. He is so smart that they don't want to rock his boat. They need him. So he's a lucky motherfucker in some ways.
Is he lucky, or is God looking out for him, Carl?
That is the question. Number 6 asks, do you believe in God? Baltar says, no, I'm a rational man. Number 6 says, I love you. That's not rational. And so on.
Yep, so on for sure.
Like the teacher that she was before getting into politics, Rosalind has a dry erase board behind her new desk to keep stuff in mind that is important. That includes the survivor count, which is somewhere around 50,000 at this point. Billy tells her that the count has been found to be too optimistic and 300 less people have survived than we thought. Rosalind gets up and drops the survivor count down by 300, which puts the human race below 50,000 survivors. Everyone kind of pauses to take in that watershed moment. Into this sad situation comes Dr. Amarek. He has urgent news. There's a traitor in our midst, but he doesn't want to say more. Baltar overhears this. He's convinced that Amarek is going to tell Rosalind that he was the one who let the Cylons into the defense mainframe. luckily for him, Amarak doesn't want to talk about this over communications. He's going to do it in person. All right, says Rosalind, have him come in after the next jump. The jump happens, and the Olympic carrier vanished, and wouldn't you know it, Amarak was on the Olympic carrier. Lucky bastard. Number 6 asks Gaius if he thinks that this is the work of God. Baltar, his ego restored, goes into full Richard Dawkins territory. There's definitely no God, singular or plural, you superstitious pig. I know a week ago you murdered 99% of my race, but I'm still going to be an ass to you. And not only that, I will definitely not get my comeuppance. The call comes in from Adama at this point. Adama tells the president he is going into Condition 2, which on this show is the rough equivalent of Yellow Alert. They make awkward references to the power-sharing deal that they struck in the pilot. Because this is a military decision, Adama is the one who makes the call. Rosalind agrees and musters up an appropriately presidential thank you. Part 3, the pilots. An exhausted Captain Opalo in the briefing room is trying to give everyone a break, saying essentially, I could lecture you, but you know your jobs. Be careful. Let's make it to the next jump. Apollo catches up with Starbuck and tells her to go on stimulants. Starbuck doesn't want to go on stimulants.
Her reaction is so good. She's literally like, smack my fucking face, grab me by the nose, and make me take my fucking pills!
Yeah,
We're not friends! Like,
we're not friends, you're the cad.
What the fuck?
You say good hunting, you don't say be careful. Shoot Cylons out of the fracking sky.
I really liked her until, like, that moment when I was like, are you fucking insane? And then she starts laughing about it, and I'm like, oh, you are fucking insane.
Well, she's barely slept for like a week, so...
They have a friendly laugh, and Starbuck goes on the damn meds instead of acting like a child.
Oh, and chews him up. Ugh. That was, like, a fucking detail that I was just like, oh, couldn't be worse.
Yeah.
Because you could just taste it. You could taste the, like, chalky, bitter... Ugh.
No, it's the future. They're cherry
Exactly.
flavored.
No, they probably still taste like shit in the future.
I think they taste like shit just for power reasons. I think the army is like, you know what? We're gonna make you eat stuff that tastes like
But to be fair, she didn't have to fucking chew them up like Tums. She's just being a wackadoo.
Yeah. Being a wackadoo. The pilots go back home to get some rest, leaving only a small crew of, I think, 3 pilots, including the drugged-up Starbuck. Captain Adama
Because she's
and
on drugs,
Boomer.
specifically.
Because she's on drugs. Adama and Ty hang out. Adama remarks that I'm glad that you stopped drinking, Ty. And Ty remarks, this whole thing makes me feel better than I have in years. I'm that miserable of a bastard that at least I can feel useful during the end.
You know what, though? It fits for me because every time I look at him, I just think I've been calling him John McCain because I have no idea what his real name is.
Yes.
So it actually, for me, it actually kind of
Yes.
works that way. That he's just a miserable
It
little
absolutely
fucker.
works that way.
So sorry.
He's a John McCain type
Sorry,
guy.
John McCain, but damn.
And so he feels better than he has in years. Adama gently brings up his outburst from earlier. Ty shrugs it off. If the crew doesn't hate the XO, he's not doing his job. Okay, says Adama, but there's a difference between pushing a crew and breaking them, which is the thing I always wish people would say to most bosses during the pandemic that we just lived through. But,
hey, it's still going.
never
Carl,
mind.
it's still on.
And are still.
So I was gonna say, don't
you're right.
feed into this lie that it's over. It's still happening. I mean,
you're so right.
My workplace, we've had 6 or 7 people have it in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, it's very bad in the Northeast, isn't it? I heard that. So I think pretty soon it's going to be very bad here. We should say that you are in Massachusetts,
Yes,
and I'm in Minnesota.
That's true.
So that's where we're coming from, audience.
But at one point, we were all together in Massachusetts, and it was a magical, wonderful
all
time.
together, doing theater stuff. I miss it.
We miss you.
Bang! I miss you too. Bang! Dratus contact. The Olympic carrier has shown up. Everyone's relieved.
Hooray!
Gasp.
Except for Adama, because he knows what this probably means. He puts everyone back on high alert. They make contact with a relieved-sounding Olympic carrier, saying essentially, "Oh, you guys, this is great. We had tech problems. I don't know how we got away from the Cylons, but we did. Also, we've got Dr. Adavac here. He says there's a traitor in your midst." Adama takes this in. Rosalind takes this in over the intercom. And Baltar freaks. Number 6 reveals that the ship is indeed Cyloned up, just like Adama suspects, and that Gaius Baltar is in a lot of trouble, unless Number 6 is just a delusion of Baltar, in which case, nothing matters. LOL. Baltar says the ship is definitely a Cylon plot and demands that they blow it up. After a brief tense discussion, Adama and Rosalind agree that they think that's probably what's going on.
Was he like, I took one of its hair samples and I can tell?
Gillette, the best a man can get.
Fuck.
Fearing a computer virus, they cut off communication and tell Boomer to relay a message by signal light, saying, Olympic Carrier, stop right now. The Olympic Carrier does not stop. Uncomfortable, Apollo countermands his father's order and tells Boomer to break radio silence and tell the ship to stop by voice. The ship doesn't respond to that either. Suddenly nobody's home. Starbuck fires a warning shot. They ignore it. Adama decides to send the rest of the fleet ahead for the next jump. And at that time exactly, the Cylons arrive. And we find out, due to our sensor readings, the Olympic Carrier is carrying nukes. At this point, Adama and Rosalind agree that they've got to destroy the ship. Baltar, freaking out in the corner, believes that they are not going to destroy the ship. Number 6 says, what you've got to do is repent to God. Baltar repents, asks God for forgiveness. Adama gives the order to destroy the Olympic Carrier. Apollo and Starbuck waffle. Apollo pulls in close to look through the Olympic Carrier's windows. They see nothing. Finally, he says, if we're going to do this, let's just do it. What if you're wrong, says Starbuck. But Apollo steps up to be the bastard Starbuck needs him to be. He fires. She fires. The Olympic Carrier explodes, all hands lost. Scene fades on the pilots, contemplating what they have done. 24 hours later, the Adamas commiserate that they shot down a civilian ship, possibly killing 1,300 of the last human beings alive, but they did it together. On Colonial 1, Rosalind is almost too worn out to speak, but they were right, as Billy pointed out. The Cylons have not come back. The fleet is safe for now. Rosalind asks for privacy and Billy leaves, but not before giving her one last update on the survivor count. How many do I subtract? Says Rosalind. No, you can add one. A baby was born on the appropriately named civilian ship, the Rising Star. Billy smiles and leaves. Rosalind's too tired to smile, but she goes to her board and writes down the final official count of the survivors of the attack on the 12 colonies. 47,973. The end. That is 33, Battlestar Galactica. One of the most exciting things about this is you haven't seen it at all.
Right.
And it would be a good thing to sort of, just like sometimes it's fun to just watch Star Wars A New Hope and that's it. I am curious how this show, which is sort of tied to the oddies, plays now. So what do you think about 33, Battlestar Galactica?
Well, so before we get into specifics, I have a question, because you probably know way more about this show than we do. Did they want Alexander Siddig for not Bashir, and he just said no? Or is it like, did Ronald D. Moore not realize he had just recast a different Alexander Siddig?
Maybe Alexander Siddig is his type.
Yeah.
Alexander Siddig is definitely his type. I would believe, but I have not heard of any sign that this happened. But I would believe that somewhere along the line he was considered, and then someone said, too old.
Oof.
Sadly.
Oof. 30 years old as he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won the Carrington. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But
Nice.
it is good for you to raise this because there is actually a misunderstanding out there. Some people believe that James Callis and Alexander Siddig are the same person, and they are not.
What?
No.
I mean, they look...
Alexander Siddig is much more handsome.
They look similar, but I wouldn't, like, sometimes you'll see people and you go, like, yeah, I believe they're related, maybe. I don't even believe they're related. They just have very similar face structure and accent, and...
Yeah, the accent is a big part of it.
We actually watched the first half of the miniseries with our Stars Here by co-hosts, Jake and Ames, and...
Guests
one
week, I should say.
Oh, holy shit.
One thing they even said was, like, he has very big, like, early DS9 Bashir energy before they had the character kind of grow up a little.
Yes.
But he's also just so much more of a scumbag.
If there's any other thing that is the reason for it, it's that Alexander Siddig was always... they were always fucking around with the inside of his mind on
True.
Deep Space Nine. So True. I think they have that unfortunate thematic crossover.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of Deep Space Nine, I gotta believe, you know, Bashir was just sort of walking around, and every so often he would do something to check that he was not in a simulation.
Well, he'd pull his top out and spin it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'd be like, "I'll ask O'Brien something that only he would know, just to be sure, just to be sure."
How many times have you died, Chief?
Chief, how big is my cock?
But to your question, overall, I really like the sort of just the examination of just their exhaustion, their breakdown. You know, I am glad, you know, that you definitely have to watch it on the heels of the miniseries, just so that you have seen these people in top shape before seeing them battered, or you're not going to appreciate the, like, real level of difference between sort of their states. But I think it comes across really well, you know, it's just everyone is so frazzled and screwed up. Actually, Gaius is about the same, because we have seen him mostly frazzled and screwed up.
What'd you think, Caitlin?
Oh, I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting how it showed how they were being, like, pushed, and how they kind of gave you, like, some subtle and not subtle signs of that, about how they were being pushed to the limits because of how tired they were. I think John McCain would have been that much of a dick either way, but aside from that, I think everybody else probably was feeling the pressure. This is what I was starting to say off camera earlier, or whatever, I've actually, like, kind of avoided watching Battlestar Galactica for a long time because I've kind of pretended for a long time that I don't like science fiction. And the amount that I liked this made me realize that I really can't continue lying about not liking science fiction. Like, I feel like you can say, like, oh yeah, but I mean, I like Star Wars. I mean, everyone likes Star Wars. And I feel like you can even like Star Trek and kind of, well, no, that's not true. That's just what I think.
And you are on the Star
Trek podcast. I'm telling myself lies. Yeah, fucking hate that science fiction stuff, though. No, so I guess, like, I'm really super into it. I really like Starbuck, even though she's being psycho. And I love that they keep having her smoking cigars. It makes me so excited. I don't know why. Aside from just that she's a hot girl smoking cigars, which I also like. I like the characters. I find the Cylons unspeakably terrifying and creepy. They're like fucking creepy robo-fingers. So
the actual, like, robot-y ones.
Well, I mean, the ships, too. The ships are creepy.
But I mean, not the humanoid ones.
Well, they're kind of creepy. I mean.
But, okay.
But no, yeah, I mean, like, the ones that look like robots that have, like, creepy, shiny metal fingers that are gonna destroy the fuck out of your face, probably. Like, they're really, really fucking creepy. And I get, like, and the idea of them being, like, they could be anybody. I will say that when Baltar was, like, accidentally right about that guy being a Cylon, it really made me mad.
Right? Right?
I was like, yes. Son of a bitch.
Well, it really does kind of beg the question of, like, what is Six up to? Like, 'cause she knows who he is. Like, I don't know what she's up to. It'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah, but she's clearly, like, in there, so she could be, like, fingering his medulla or whatever and making him think stuff.
Yeah.
This is
fingering his medulla. Yuck.
I think this is the thing I'm most interested in hearing from you, actually, honestly, which is, like, Baltar and Six. What the hell? She is one of the 12 models of Cylon who just destroyed humanity. She got in with Baltar to get the plans and everything, but she loves him. Is that even possible? Exactly.
Is everything that she says, do we have to, like, look at her like we look at Garrick and be like, oh, you're just full of shit?
Yeah.
But I think he's a fucking serious, what do you call it?
Narcissist,
but also, like, probably a sociopath, I kind of feel
like. Oh,
like.
definitely.
And
absolutely.
So, I think by telling him that she loves him, even if it's not true, is definitely going to work on him. And I think being like, oh, God's looking out for you, even if he doesn't believe in God, if he, like, ever considered that God could be real, he would have to believe in God only so far if God was, of course, very concerned with
Him.
with Gaius Baltar.
Sure.
I hated the scene where she was like, no one has to know we're gonna fuck now. But I guess that was also in the miniseries. I have, like, a real problem keeping these things separate.
No, that was in 33 as well, or...
Well, I mean, they're fucking all the time, but I mean the part where he, like, had his head back because she was, like, biting his neck and...
I think that was 33.
No, I think it was the miniseries. I think it was before that.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
either.
I don't know. Either way, I find it all really fucking creepy. I don't like it. I don't understand. I mean, but the thing is like, who created her? Like, the Cylons created her, right? So
Yeah.
you can't even say... It's like, she's obviously very male-gazy. But, like, at the same time, it's like, well, a bunch of robots made her. I guess it's okay. Like, fine. I don't know.
Well, she's the
thing
honeypot
is-
model.
Yeah. Well, the thing
Honeypot
is, though, she is not... it's not even quite that the Cylons made her. She is the Cylon. She is
Yeah.
one
Well, right.
of them.
Right. But I mean, presumably someone designed, if there's 12 of them, they started out as those stupid tin cans with creepy fingers and eventually, like, evolved or built up.
Well, they started, as the blueprints we saw showed, as the chunky buddies from the 70s
Oh, chunky
Battlestar.
buddies. Sounds
They
delicious.
did, even in this timeline, look like that at one point.
And this is the kind of thing that I am kind of impressed that they're able to, like, hint at but not explain. At a certain point, they said, all right, we're going to wipe out humanity. To wipe out humanity, we must become humanity. So we're going to take these 12 models. They're all going to be different people, but everyone is going to look like one of these 12 models. So here's some evolution. And, we don't know, the Colonial Fleet does not know at this point that they are, that the Cylons look like us now.
Yeah.
Except when suddenly they do.
Yeah.
They comment on it.
That was one moment that was pretty funny. Which I don't know if it was meant to be, but it was, where he was like, where this was definitely the miniseries. I remember actually texting Caitlin about it because we had to watch it separately due to scheduling stuff. But I was like, oh god, I just got to the part where Gaius is all, the problem of course is that no one in the fleet yet knows that Cylons look like us now. Cut immediately to the Colonel.
The Cylons look like us now! Son of a bitch!
Yeah. He's like, whoops, that
Exactly.
came off as humorous.
P.S. Nice Alexander Siddig impression you were just doing.
Thank you.
No, it's perfect, and this is a little bit of stuff that would later get famous on shows like The Wire too, where like everyone's a little bit wrong. The leaders know that the Cylons look like us. The average person does not, but it's definitely leaked out as a conspiracy theory.
It's made it at least to the pilots by 33.
The male gaziness of Six is interesting. She's definitely sort of ridiculously sexy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sort of curious, would you say that Baltar is ridiculously sexy as well?
He's okay.
Nah.
Maybe with a haircut. I don't like his hair.
Oh, I like his hair.
Oh, really?
See, I
It's
kind of
too
like
long.
it. Nah, I kind of like that about it. It's very 2000s.
One
Yes.
thing...
It speaks to my 2000s roots.
I was going to say, the thing with Six is occasionally she's dressed in such a way where you're just like, oh my god, that is so fucking... You can tell this show was made in 2003.
Yes.
Some of her quote-unquote sexy costumes, you're like, oh yeah, I remember when that look was in for some ungodly reason.
I think Gaius is, like, good-looking enough, but I don't think...
He looked better with a haircut.
You know who he would look better as? Alexander Siddig.
I think we're all
Yeah.
agreed on that, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like probably the best-looking guy on the show, answering the hard-hitting question
The
so
Chief.
far, is probably Apollo. Who?
Interesting.
Who are you going to say?
I said the Chief, it was a joke.
The thick-jawed man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
the
don't
thick
like him.
boy.
There's,
Thick boy.
I that's the one thing, and I have no good reason for it. There's just something about that guy's, like, resting face that
Yeah.
makes me hate him. I'm not supposed to, I get it, and they're not his fault, but there's just something about the way that man's, like, default expression is that I cannot
Well, don't hit him because you'll
stand.
break your fucking hand on that chin.
Resting bastard face, I think, applies here.
And I feel bad. He can't help it. Like,
Well, he's kind of a jerk most of the time. Even if he is, partly because he's stressed, obviously, but like,
Yeah.
he's also like I was sort of surprised that he was like in a relationship, like not to bash
oh
him.
god, yeah.
Yeah, because he's with Boomer.
He's with the robot, which
Yeah.
maybe explains
The
it.
robot.
Could be her mission.
Yeah.
If she knows she's a Cylon. Oh dear.
She does not. I will say.
But yeah, again, I feel bad. 'Cause again, I get that the guy's maybe supposed to be kind of not super likable because he's such a jerk. But I feel like I dislike him more than I am supposed to for really awful, superficial reasons. Whereas, like, Baltar, you're supposed to loathe because of the way he's written, and he really... whereas this guy, you're supposed to maybe think, this guy's kind of a prick, but whatever.
Well, I think one of the great things about this show is it kind of allows you to hate whoever you want to hate for superficial reasons. It's kind of about the stuff that we make snap judgments about and why.
Well,
maybe.
Well, thank you for justifying my horribleness.
How do you feel about Adama and Roslyn?
Kind of waiting for them to stress bang. Like, it's a good thing they're not on the same ship, because I feel like they would just be banging it out.
Mm-hmm.
I like Adama. Maybe he's the best looking guy on the show.
He is an awesome shaver, you must admit.
It's so funny because all I can do though is sit there and think like, wow, Edward James Olmos always running into the humanoid androids.
I know.
Or what else? Oh, Blade Runner, right? We literally just talked about this.
But yeah, they I like the way they've interacted so far. I think, like Caitlin said, I kind of feel like I don't think the show is building romantic tension. But I do feel like, yeah, they would maybe stress fuck if they were...
Well, especially in the 33 minutes, he'd be like, hey, I've got 10 minutes, and that means I've got 8 minutes left over once we're done, probably. Oh. Sorry, 8.5. But I like her. She kind of is giving me Harriet Jones in Doctor Who vibes. Is that her name?
Yeah, I can see that.
Good call.
Except I feel like, she comes into her own very... Not very quickly, but like she knows what she has to do. She's presenting the role people need to see from her, and
even though she's like secretly dying from cancer, also
that too, yeah.
Yes. And like now isn't going to be able to get treatment.
But yeah, I was funny watching the miniseries, and it was like, "Hey, following the Secretary of Education a lot. I bet the whole government gets killed, and she's the president." And yes,
oh, good. Yeah.
I love the character of the president. She's great. I enjoy that she is like not letting anyone fuck with her.
Yeah. Laura Roslin is named after two first ladies who used to be teachers. Laura Bush and Rosalind Carter.
Carter, sure.
Neat.
She was funny. Not. Yeah, she was not in the original Battlestar Galactica because that show was about like Adama as the proud papa, kind of taking care of everyone's needs. And Ronald D. Moore was like, we need the political side of this represented. Part of the question of this show is, if you are the last human beings alive, what do you keep? What do you make sure to take with you? And she is very dedicated to sort of preserving democracy and the civil power. And so is Adama. And yet it gets complicated.
I was envisioning like a big stupid time capsule, so I'm glad that you clarified.
Right.
I do appreciate...
It kind of is a time capsule.
From what little we've seen so far, this sort of tension between the military and the civil government. Because one thing I've brought up a lot with regards to Star Trek is that whenever we see the Federation government, it's always in the midst of some kind of like Starfleet-related crisis. Mm-hmm. And it really does, just the way the show is written, sometimes feel like Starfleet is the government.
Yes.
And the Federation, the president and all that. We don't even know what their legislature is called.
Yes. Yes.
Like, they have literally, in 50 plus years of show, we know there's a president and... No, they mentioned... There's, like, the Federation Council.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly how that is. But we assume that's the legislature. It all feels a bit puppety.
Very puppety. And we know even less about the Earth government, I would say.
Yeah.
The only time we get any time with that is like Homefront and Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
But that's like when we are interacting with the civilian government, something's wrong with the civilian government. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Bajoran government, forget about it.
Oh, man. God. Whereas this show, right from the get-go, is staking a claim to, like, it's not that simple here. There are clear delineations we are attempting to keep intact.
Yes.
Which is even harder in a case like this where, I think a lot of people would naturally just be like, well, it's the post-apocalypse, let's swarm immediately to the person with all the guns.
And this is part of what I kind of wanted to explore is what does this show mean for today as opposed to 2004, 2005, when it was kind of like overwhelmingly 9/11. And but I think, the intersection of religion, civilian government, and militarism has never been more resonant.
I will say Caitlin has not seen any, I think, of Enterprise at this point.
Nope.
But it is definitely 3 episodes in far better post-9/11 sci-fi than Enterprise ever is.
Yeah.
Especially when it tries to do 9/11 in season 3, and the show is just a nightmare. While watching this, I remember thinking, like, I can definitely see how this is a 2003 show, but it's not really smashing me over the head with it in a way, in that, like,
Right.
I can still appreciate a lot of what it's doing without having to be like, oh, does this work as well now, or is this a bit too heavy-handed, or...
On Battlestar, they were successful in, like, not just regurgitating 2003 style onto the viewer. They created a entirely different world that would hold up. And, like, I always hate in science fiction when it looks, like, too hipster. And one thing I know about both of you is you're very interested in sci-fi, things like ship design, things like costume design, things like kind of culture. True or false? Are these?
Especially Chris.
Yeah, I'm the official SSHB pedant, aesthetics pedant.
Aesthetics. I was gonna say, yeah.
They didn't make the mistake being like, let's make future suits. They just put people in suits and clothes.
Oh,
and
God, but that one suit that Gaius wears... Oh,
God, it's horrible.
Flash him back to? Why did they bring him back
Yes, that
to
one is
33?
bad. But that's not even necessarily like a 2003
that terrible
thing.
pinstripe suit.
That's just a
that
bad suit.
Oh my fuck, I hate it.
But
We
see,
hated
it's
it.
perfect.
We hated it when we were watching the
Miniseries?
and then they brought it back, and I was like, no.
I feel like it's perfect for his character, though, because it feels like a suit a gigantic douchebag would wear.
Well, I mean, certainly when he's wearing it, a gigantic douchebag is wearing it. So I mean, at least this one giant douchebag.
Obviously, though, of course, what maybe helps is the fact that they had to... Well, they didn't have to, but they chose to integrate so many things from the original series. And so So they had to kind of keep a lot of other stuff toned down, because it would be really jarring if you had, like, the 70s-ass Galactica and Vipers, and
Absolutely.
very 2003 everything else.
Mm-hmm.
What I found interesting, and it mostly works, I feel like sometimes it doesn't, is the fact that it's like this very high-tech society, but then again, some stuff, like they've got, like you said, whiteboards, and even in the CNC, like, they're still using, like, paper maps, and, those sort of, like, just big glass panels instead of, monitors everywhere, and the phones are on cords, analog clocks. I think the one time where I was like, this might be over-egging the pudding was the brig, where it was just a little too...
Oh, in the miniseries.
Yeah, where it was like, this looks like you used the, like, small-town jail set from Andy Griffith. That's the one time where I was like, this time you fucked up. Like, I'm not saying you needed a force field wall, but maybe the bars should have looked newer or something. Like, it looked a little too shitty.
Yeah, I get you. Well, let me tell you what I love about their design on this point. They have done something that makes the future and the past kind of feel like the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It makes it more human and more alien at the same time to me.
Yeah,
it's like leaving America and going to Britain or something.
So this cool. Actually, I think this kind of ties into something I've often said about the David Lynch Dune. Where one thing I think works really well for it is that, it's humanity, but it's humanity countless thousands of years in the future. And what I think is great, and this is probably because Lynch is so Lynch, is that everything is recognizably human, but everything also feels a little off in some way that's really hard to put your finger on. Which is appropriate, because it's been so long. Like, there's so many cultural shifts and things that have happened that they don't have time to tell us about, that we're not going to fully absorb and understand as a viewer, that it should feel a little weird while being not. And at the end of the day, let's be honest, the 70s Vipers look better than the 2003 Vipers. The antique Vipers just look better.
I agree with that, yeah.
And of course, there's also questions just like how much the original BSG owes aesthetically to Star Wars, but that's a whole different conversation.
Right, they got lawyers involved on that.
Did they?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
George Lucas sued. He sued.
For what?
Well,
you can't copyright blocky gray shit, George.
Apparently you can try.
Well, come on. Okay, short rant. Considering, like, everything that man did was based on something he watched as a kid, it takes some real fucking stones to sue somebody for ripping off your... What did you come up with for that you didn't admit fully was from Flash Gordon or some fucking cereal or what? Fuck off, George. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
It's very true. We are out of time. I don't want to.
Oh, sorry.
But
what a note to end on.
I don't know whether you're going to continue watching. I actually, if I make
absolutely.
this, oh, good. The only thing I want to say is just like, don't let the hardcore fans ruin this.
Oh, I'm going to avoid them at all human cost.
Yeah, and it's not even their fault. 5 words have made things very hard for Battlestar Galactica fans of the audience. 5 small words. And they have a plan. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the Cylons don't have a plan. And,
just like Lost.
Yeah, it is exactly the same problem as Lost. But the thing about BSG, I really feel that I haven't seen a lot of Lost, but I feel like BSG is a lot more sort of profound and thoughtful about humanity than what we tend to see in Lost.
Probably not hard to do.
But this show, and this is partly just how you evolve a show versus how you pitch a show. This show, the best thing about this show is not finding out the plan. The best thing about this show is watching human evolution and watching Cylon evolution.
Yeah.
So every time you see the words, and they have a plan, just replace them. This is just my advice. Replace them with the phrase, and the Cylons caught the car they've been trying to catch and they don't quite know what to do, but they're going to fuck around with the humans until they figure it out. There you go.
Oh, beautiful.
So, that
Get
said,
that on a pillow.
these episodes, number 1, In the Pale Moonlight, number 2, 33, both of these are sort of about exigencies of war. What do you do with things you are ashamed of? So who's better? Who wins this week? Deep Space Nine, In the Pale Moonlight, or 33, Battlestar Galactica?
Oh, that's really a hard question.
Battlestar kind of hedges its bets a bit more. Like, it gives people who want to feel comfortable way more leeway to say, yeah, no, they were all already dead. They had nukes on board.
It did seem that way. The lights were on, but nobody was home.
But it's also entirely possible the Cylons had everyone bound and gagged in the fucking cargo bay just to make them kill their own people.
Yeah.
So I think in that regard, DS9 wins in that. I think it also, again, I think pulled its punches to an extent by making Vreenak so unlikable. But I think, BSG gave a little more leeway. But I appreciate that the characters were still torn up about it. But it's also just hard to top that monologue at the end. So I've got to just give it to DS9.
DS9. Caitlin, what do you think?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. For all the reasons you just said, I don't know. I feel like with Battlestar, the urgency feels more real. We see, lists of dead, whatever, every week, and that sucks, it does. But, for the Battlestar people, it's no, we're gonna die in 2 minutes if we don't make this choice. It isn't eventually this is gonna happen. It just feels way more urgent. So I feel like they're super justified in what they do. I mean, they literally are hurling a ship full of nuclear warheads directly at them. I don't feel like the decision that they make in 33 is really morally ambiguous at all. It's like I know it sucks, and I know that, like, you know, the trolley question, like, one person or 5 people, whatever, but I really feel like there was no choice, because if that thing had hit them, and if it had warheads, and if it had fucking exploded, then they're all dead. Literally everyone is dead. So it's like the trolley hits the one person, then hits the 5 as well.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like it's morally ambiguous at all.
And
Like,
they
I feel
didn't
like
really
they had to
have,
do it.
you know, they didn't, I guess one thing you say is they didn't try to see if there was a way to just disable it versus destroy
They
it.
didn't have time. It was literally hurtling towards them.
No,
like,
I know.
it was going to hit them in 3 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also I can see why it hurts the pilots so much, just because, like, I'm sure it still feels awful when you've got so few people left. Like, when you lose 1,000 of 50,000, that's...
1,300.
Well, yeah, I was rounding. But, like, you've lost a huge portion of your population right there. And again, maybe they were already dead, but maybe they weren't. And that will presumably haunt
And I
them.
agree that that's terrible. I'm just saying that I don't think they had any other choice.
Let me stir this into the pot. In the original script by Ronald D. Moore, the intention is that when Apollo flew past those line of windows, he was going to see people staring out at him, looking afraid, completely confused, not knowing what was going on.
Oh,
he was still
should've
going to
kept
have
that.
to blow it up. But
Should've kept that.
the networks forced him to drop it. They were
course
like,
they
this
did.
episode's a bummer,
Cowards.
man.
Cowards.
And for that reason, I am also going to give this to Deep Space Nine by a hair.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is just simply like Sisko is trained in this. You know, he is used to a world where if you think things through hard enough, you will not have to be the devil. And you know, he's gotten a whole monologue on that show, and the equivalent of that in 33 is just Adama and Apollo getting together, and Adama goes, "I made the order," and Apollo goes, "And I pulled the trigger." And like they are so tired that is the only thing they can say.
Yeah.
And it's just beyond drama at that point, and that means that Deep Space Nine wins. So whatever series wins, like we'll send like a thank you note to Ronald D. Moore.
And like,
Either way,
chemical
Ronald D. Moore
arrangements.
wins.
Right away. You'll be interested to know which series you win for.
Oh, one thing I did want to say, one thing that was super impressive is how well a lot of the CG holds up, considering it is 20 years old and from television.
Agreed.
Like,
Yeah,
some of the stuff in The Storm was a bit dodgy, but so much of it, like, considering how old it is and that it was TV, shockingly good.
You know, that show had a very low budget. It was a co-production of some British company and some American company, so like everyone was
Okay.
fighting each other.
No.
And to the extent that like they did not want to have so many Cylon battles because they knew they did not have the money to do them well. And that is part of the reason why they did such a good job on character. Like, we need to make this show rock in other ways than just blowing shit up.
It's so funny because, of course, the original infamously did not last long, in part because it had, for the time, an absurdly high TV budget.
Yeah. Thank you for appearing on this
Thanks for
episode
having us.
of Battlespace 9. How do you find A Start Steer Her By and other stuff that you're onto?
Oh, well, we are all old, so our main way of getting out to people is still Facebook,
Yep.
where we are A Star to Steer Her By. We are on SoundCloud, and by extension, any podcasting app that draws from SoundCloud's RSS feed. We are also on Twitter, though we don't use it much, and we have been trying to we have been putting up a lot more stuff on our Tumblr, thanks
Which,
to
like, wow.
producer Ames.
Even less used than Facebook, probably.
Probably, but we
Question
always
mark?
link to it. We've been
I
having...
know the youngs like it, don't they?
I'm a
Don't the
defender
youngs
of
kind
Tumblr.
of like Tumblr.
Good.
I like Tumblr.
So yeah,
but-
we've got a lot of stuff on there lately. There's also a lot of crazy fanfic we've written over the years for fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're a Star to Steer Her By everywhere.
SSHB
There.
podcast.
Yes,
Is
as
usually
well.
what our Twitter, Tumblr is at SSHB podcast.
You can also check out unreliable-narrator.com, where Chris appeared in the Unreliable Narrator production Stockholm, which was
Yeah.
at the Minnesota Fringe last
That
year.
was fun.
Oh, is that up there so I can watch it, Carl?
Yeah,
Carl? 'Cause
yeah.
oh my god, I missed it before, so I still haven't seen it.
Go to it.
I'm gonna
yeah.
go online
Chris
and
is
watch
great.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course.
And
and Carl is also great. Guys,
thank you.
don't. Yeah, I was gonna say, don't sell yourself short.
Tune in next week for more great people, and the episodes Deep Space Nine: The Adversary, Battlestar Galactica: Water, and the theme is spies.
Ooh.
Spies. For Battle Space Nine, I'm Carl Danielson.
This has been Caitlin.
And this is always Chris.
Huh.